Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you guys are watching this, to the 214 Sports Show. I'm your host, TJ Krillowitz. I'm here alongside with Joseph Duffy and Courtney Machani, just like every single other week. How are y'all doing?
Doing all right, man. Good to be back in the pod for episode 46. What TJ Krillowitz says the Brock Burke episode.
Yep. Hey, I mean, number 46 is not a popular number. You can't really wear it in the NBA. I didn't really look at stars players, to be honest, but the Cowboys, not a lot of impressive names. Malik Jefferson, most recent number 46 on the Cowboys. Sorry, decided to go with a World Series champion instead, so Brock Burke.
Indeed.
But anyways, it's been a good week. It's been a good week, at least for me. I hope it's been a good week for y'all. It's been a decent week for Dallas sports. We'll get into it. We'll definitely start off with talking about the Mavericks and Stars and their free agency moves. If they've gone better, if they've gone worse, where do we think we can go from now on, or where do we think we could go from now for the Stars and the Mavericks, and then also the Rangers. Sorry, this Nissan ad just decided to start playing in my AirPods out of nowhere. This is pretty, bro. What? Okay, my fault, y'all. That just it unmuted itself. That's pretty insane. But anyways, and then we'll talk about the Texas Rangers and the sliding Texas Rangers, and about their struggles, and if we think if they're gonna turn it around. We still think they're gonna turn it around. So we'll get into all of that. But first of all, I want to start off with the thing that we start off almost every single week with, which is on today's date in Dallas history. Now we're getting into the offseason. We only have the Rangers in season, so it's getting a little bit tougher to do on today's date. But I decided to make it today since we are posting this on July 6th. It is actually the 4th year of Luka Doncic Day. If you don't know, back in January, oh my gosh, I'm messing up my words. Back in July 6, 2021, Dallas County officials declared July 6th as Luka Doncic Day. This was right after he just qualified his team, his Slovenian national team, to the Olympics. If you don't know, it's supposed to be July 7th because that's the number 77, but that is the anniversary of the Dallas shooting back in, I believe, 2016. Right. In downtown, so it's an unfortunate. They could not make Luka Doncic Day the anniversary of that, so they made it July 6th. So it's now Luka Doncic's day. So congrats to him, man. July 6th.
That day was crazy.
I mean, that was pretty crazy. It's unfortunate, man.
I was in California at the time. It was also my grandma's birthday, and we were hearing news about that from going back in Texas, and we just couldn't believe it. But that's you got to feel bad for Luka, right? They're not getting the 7-7, but rest in peace to those officers. Dang, dude, this dude.
Corny, man.
No, but why would he say? He said it like a sports announcer. Though. He said, "Oh, you gotta feel bad for Luka Doncic," but that's a
you gotta feel bad for Luka.
That's funny. Like you're supposed to hear, bro. Like, wow.
And that's exactly how a sports announcer would say that, though, too, man. And keep that professionality up, man. Keep that professionality up.
But in a way, isn't it kind of crazy that this dude got a day named after him that quickly into his career?
That is crazy.
Isn't that insane?
It's insane.
I didn't even know that was he had a day already in Dallas. But 2021, that's only 3 years to his career.
Literally.
That's kind of insane.
It's absolutely insane, yeah. And it is because of his help with Slovenia, the Slovenian national team going into that 2020 Summer Olympics. It was played in 2021, as we know, because of the pandemic. And my trivia question actually for this week goes with that. Luka almost got a medal with Slovenia. It's their first time playing in the basketball Olympics. And their country only has 2.1 million people. So it's amazingly impressive. But he lost in the bronze game. Now, do you remember what country beat him in the bronze game? Who got bronze in the 2020 Summer Olympics, basically?
Dang.
They need to reunite Yugoslavia, bro, because I'm not going to lie, they'd be some monsters. If they had Jokic and Luka on the same team, I mean, it'd be insane. With that in mind, I think it was Serbia. That's why I say Jokic. I think it was Serbia. Because it can't be France. France was in the finals with America. And America beat them after having a lot of scrutiny with those first few losses they had in that little the pool play and all the stuff before the Olympics. France
Yep.
went on a run, and then we matched up with them in the gold match. So I think that we got gold, France got silver, and that Serbia got bronze. I think they did. Could be wrong. Could be wrong.
All right, what you
That
think, Courtney?
that does sound correct. But I feel like if Jokic had a medal, I'll hear more about it.
You're
I
right.
haven't really heard Jokic having a medal. I'm gonna go with like a classic. I'm gonna go with like Spain or something. I'm gonna go with like classic, like Spain or Argentina. Nah, Argentina. Nah, not anymore.
No, man, not Luis Scola. He ain't playing no more.
Yeah, not that. Even Spain, I don't even think. I would say like a dark horse and say
You
Greece.
could say Australia. You could say
Australia.
You could say Canada.
I'm actually gonna go with Australia. They had a good run.
Australia did have their run. Is that final answers all buzzed in for both of y'all?
Yeah.
Serbia and Australia? And somebody's right. And it is Courtney. It was Australia.
Yes, sir.
They beat Slovenia for the bronze. I don't remember who would be on that team. I know Patty Mills was on that team.
Joe Ingles.
I believe
Respect Joe Ingles.
Joe Ingles was on that team for sure. I don't know if players like Josh Giddey and Josh Green were on the team by that time. Definitely not Josh Giddey, but maybe Josh Green. I don't know. I don't know. That's going to be something that somebody could fact check me about. But let's go ahead. Let's get into the Mavericks talk. We're already 7 minutes into the episode. So free agency last week. We did not have free agency by our last episode when we uploaded last Saturday. That was the day before free agency. So we kind of left the 214 Sports Show kind of on a cliffhanger, being like, we'll see what happens in free agency. And we haven't really talked about it much since. But it's basically finished for the Mavericks. They will still, I believe that they're not done. They're probably going to still make a move. They have a roster spot open. They have trade exception money that possibly have trade exception money. And so we'll see. But obviously the big news for the Dallas Mavericks was being able to win the Klay Thompson sweepstakes over the Los Angeles Lakers, even the Los Angeles Clippers, signing him to a 3-year, $50 million deal. Now, I'm sure we've heard every single side of opinion by now about the Klay Thompson signing. We've heard a lot of people say that it's a bad signing. We've heard a lot of people say that it's the best signing. We've heard a lot of in-betweens with that. So I'm going to take just a little bit of a different angle. We'll still talk about Klay Thompson and how he fits with the Mavericks, but real quick, I mean, we signed him to a 3-year, $50 million deal, I believe, with a player option on that last year. Do you guys agree with the money that we gave Klay Thompson? Do you think that's right, the right amount of money for a player like Klay Thompson right now in his stage of his career?
Honestly, I don't think it's a bad deal. I really do think it's fine. Looking at his stats last year, I honestly didn't know he played 77 games. That's more impressive than I thought he was. Actually playing. But, coming off that injury he had a few years ago, you were wondering if he was ever going to bounce back. And you could argue he probably never will reach that level that he was at before the injury. And that was just a different type of player. He's still going to make the Hall of Fame. But I think the money is fine. And knowing that we finally have a guy in this team, the Mavericks have a guy on the team that is an actual three-point specialist, that is not just, shooting just because he has Luka Doncic on his team or Kyrie on his team. His job literally is to make that, that key three-pointer on the wing and in the corner, even though he can also make some nice mid-range shots. So I do think that Klay Thompson signing is going to help us out a lot. I do think that's a fine amount, 3 years, $50 million. I don't think that's really too little or too much. I think that's a good signing so far for the Mavericks in this first full offseason, I believe, now for the Dumont ownership. And Nico Harrison's still cooking it up in the offseason fresh off a Western Conference championship.
Yeah, I agree with Joe. I don't think it's a bad signing or bad money on the contract end. I mean, when it comes to Klay Thompson, I mean, it's obviously his stature, his legacy, his known, his like how known he is around the league. Like, obviously, even though, like he said, he played 77 games. The reason why we didn't know he played 77 games because he was sorry for about like 60 of them. But it's still Klay Thompson at the end of the day. His name carries some weight around the league, and I feel like, in my opinion, I mean, this is probably like the biggest signing in Mavs history, like summer signing. Like, if you really think about it, they don't really do much in free agency, really. I remember our biggest free agency sign before that was trying to get DeAndre Jordan. I can't really I feel like this is a pretty big one here. So the fact that we spent $50 million on him, I'm not really tripping because it shows that Nico and DeMar ownership are still all in, and they're trying to go back to the conference championship, especially after losing pieces that they lost. They try to recoup that in some way instead of just being like other teams like the Nuggets or it's like 10 teams that like the Clippers that just kind of just let people go and just kind of just sat back.
Yeah, and I mean, props to Nico Harrison. You gotta admit at this point that he is one of the top GMs in the league. The way that he's been able to kind of assess what the Mavericks need in the offseason and be able to target that immediately, and if they don't work out, to be able to replace them with people who do work out immediately as well. I mean, I'm thinking about all the signings with Christian Wood 2 years ago, Grant Williams last year in the offseason. These offseasons were considered good offseasons before the players started playing, and because of how they didn't play, they didn't play that good. But Nico was able to address that, able to get new players and get replacements, and overall make the team a better team. You're paying Klay Thompson right now Tim Hardaway Jr. money. You're paying him about the same amount of money that you're paying Tim Hardaway Jr. I know a lot of people have been comparing both of them together, but that's just simply not true. That's simply, if Klay Thompson, I understand that 0 for 10 for an elimination game. You hear that every single day, basically, if you go on Instagram. But, I mean, he was first or second? He was top 2 in the league last year for catch and shoot opportunities, or catch and shoot percentage-wise, which is huge. This is exactly what the Mavericks need. I simply just don't understand what Mavericks fans could complain about this signing when you watch the NBA Finals and watch this team just miss so many open threes. You were able to sign one of the best shooters in NBA history. There should not be a reason to complain about this signing, especially with the money. You're not giving him max deal. You're only signing him for 3 years, which is possibly only 2 with the player option. I think you're going to be all right with the signing. I think it's going to be great. But anyways, I'm going to move on to the next couple things. We replaced DJ, or actually no. Let's talk about the Klay Thompson signing. What do y'all think about the signing as a whole? I mean, do you guys actually agree with that he's an improvement over Tim Hardaway Jr.? What's going to be what can we do if you guys don't think we improved to get better? I guess. Oh my! And wait, if you excuse me, I got to let my dog out. So.
Hey, the dog.
Y'all go ahead.
Infinite.
It's starting to whimper.
Infinite improvement. I mean, seriously, this is not even a question. This dude is going to be... I mean, he's not a ball handler, we know that, but at least I can count on him to make a 3 when I need him to. And he's not going to be throwing up a lot of bricks, even though, beginning of the season, last season, I know he had his time, but, he still finished well. 38% from 3, average 17 in the season. Klay Thompson, obviously one of the greatest shooters in the NBA history. I really don't think I have to worry much about what he's going to do in the corner. There's not much pressure with him shooting the rock as I think with the Warriors anymore, because we have more talent now with Luka and Kyrie being our predominant ball handlers. So I think that he can rest a little bit more than he did before when he was on the Warriors. But his job is just going to be to jack it up from 3 pretty much. He doesn't have to worry about his mid-range game as much. We know that he's getting up there in age, but with all that being said, I do think it's a good signing overall. I'm anxious to see overall, though, how because we signed Najee, and I was thinking, man, like, this defense from 1, 2, 3 is going to be interesting. And if they're possibly going to have Klay come off the bench as a 6th man, earning this money, I know you said it was Tim Hardaway Jr. money. What if Klay came off the bench as a 6th man and then Najee was put in as the 3 right there to help a little bit defensively? Because looking at this defense, 1, 2, 3, I'm not sure how it's supposed to look with Klay starting at the 3. So that's a good question for y'all to answer, but I guess Courtney has to answer TJ's question first.
I would say, like you were alluding to, Joe, with the Warriors. Obviously, we've kind of seen this for like the past year, 2 years now. The Warriors have had a lot of problems on their own. They've had a lot of issues behind the scenes, and I mean, I think that kind of reflected onto Klay. I feel like Klay needed to change the scenery. I mean, the story came out that he told Curry to don't use your power to make them sign me because they want to, and they didn't. So obviously, shows where he's still with the Warriors. So I think even though Klay did what he did last season, and he may have not been the Klay of old. I think he needed to change the scenery. I think change the scenery will rejuvenate him. And like you said, he's not a ball handler, but I feel like the Mavs in a way addressed what they. I personally think they need a ball handler to come off the bench to help them release some pressure, like when Kyrie or Luke are sitting out. But they didn't address that. But they addressed another need. I feel like that's what they did. They addressed the three problem, which we had a bad three problem that we need to be addressed. And I mean, Klay is one of the best shooters of all time. Obviously, it works. When they double Luka, they double Kyrie. I mean, they're not gonna double Klay. I feel like it's gonna be a really good pairing. Hopefully, our forward can make some more threes, and he can basically just replicate what he did on the Thunder series for the rest of the year. Hopefully, but I mean, I think that they definitely had need that they addressed. They have more need that they need to address. Obviously, the defense is a problem. This is not the Klay of old, where Klay used to be one of the better two-way players in the league. So that's going to be interesting for sure. And it does tie into Joe's point. I don't know. It'll feel weird to see Klay off the bench. And I don't know if I want to see Klay off the bench. I really want to see Klay and Luka play like a lot of minutes together. And Kyrie for that matter. And so I don't know if I want to see him play off the bench. Obviously, Jason Kidd probably has some type of rotation that he's going to run with Klay, but I would just say take the L on defense and just
Just jack him up.
just go crazy on offense, like Steven Silas. That's what I'm gonna say.
That era.
Oh yeah,
basketball.
I agree though. I think Klay Thompson should start. It's so tough. It's so tough to assess the defense, especially right now. There's a lot of propaganda going around that the Mavericks aren't a good defensive team, but you got to put in perspective that they played the most efficient offense in NBA history in the finals, and they were on. They were playing very good. They were on a mission, and that's just what's going to happen. Sometimes the defense is gonna collapse, and it was a long postseason as well. And so, I do think that the defense is all right. I think Kyrie Irving's defense is actually underrated. He is undersized for his position, obviously, and he does have a lot of lapses defensively during games, especially in the finals. But I mean, overall, he puts a lot of effort onto the defensive end that a lot of people just don't see. And the same with Luka. I would have to look at Klay Thompson last year to see how worse he's gotten on defense, because it seems like a lot of people think he's not a good defensive player anymore. But PJ is gonna be good defensively. I still think that the two big men, Gafford and Lively, are gonna hold down the paint for us, which is so huge. This is something that the Mavericks have never had. They might have had good perimeter defense, but they've never had good interior defense, and this is something that's going to be very big for them. And yeah, I really love the Najee Marshall signing. I think that that was possibly the best replacement we could have gone for Derrick Jones Jr. Because first of all, I want to say that a lot of the Pelicans fans were very angry that he left, which is a very good sign, unlike the Warriors fans who seemed like they were kind of over Klay Thompson at that point. But Najee Marshall seems like he's a very good corner catch and shoot player. It seemed like the Mavericks prioritized catch and shoot because of how bad they shot catch and shoot in the finals, and I like that. But also, again, he bolsters our perimeter defense so well, and really kind of replaces what Derrick Jones Jr. did defensively for us. Now, he's not going to be as athletic as Derrick Jones Jr. He might not be as explosive as a scorer as Derrick Jones Jr., but if he could sit back and hit that corner three, I'm completely fine with that. That's what we need. We don't need more explosive scorers. I think if we do want to get a playmaker, I still say that Dennis Smith Jr. is out there. I will never, and he's a very, very good perimeter defender too. And I'll never stop pushing for Dennis Smith Jr. There's always been a couple names out there in the offseason that I've always been Mavs names, but have never came back. Like Buddy Hield's another one. We've always been interested in him for years.
That's a Mav right there.
I know. There's the Marcus Cousins. Yeah, he lives in Dallas.
Yeah.
He has a house in Dallas. And then, Dennis Smith Jr. is another one. It seems like every year people want him to come back. But I think that's really good. But again, I stress on this is that Jaden Hardy deserves a chance with the rotation. And I think he is that playmaker that the Mavericks are looking for. He likes to shoot. I think that once he gets serviceable minutes, I think he could become a really good playmaker because as of right now, he's shown that he's a threat to score. He's always looking to score. He's not really looking to pass, but that's because he's trying to prove himself. Jason Kidd does not put him out there for too much. So I think if you put him out there, give him a part in the rotation, I think he can really, really be that huge bench scorer that we need and also the playmaker that we need. That's the Mavericks offseason, really. What's up?
I was going to say another thing that Pelicans fans really loved about Najee. He's a heck of an enforcer. I mean, you don't have to worry about anybody touching Luka and Kyrie or really anybody in the team because he'll step up and push them aside and make sure that none of our guys get hurt. And you need a guy like that down the stretch. And not to say that we didn't have those guys right now. I think Lively's a heck of an enforcer at his age right now. That dude's only 20, and he's going to be a nice enforcer for the future. But having a guy who can set that kind of presence on the perimeter in the actual game, but also outside of the game, it means a lot. And so that's why I think the signing is really good. I don't think they only signed him for like 3 years, $27 million, something like that.
Yeah, so, only $9 million a year.
That is really good.
Yeah, $1 million a year less than Derrick Jones Jr. signed with the Clippers.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss. Go ahead, DJ. No, I was gonna say I definitely think that going to the offseason, we did need three big things. We needed defense, we needed the 3-pointers, and we needed just kind of like another scorer. I feel like they did everything, all things considered. They replaced DJJ with Najee, which is obviously probably a little bit worse, but defense is checked there. 3-point, they got Klay, and I feel like Hardy, I think they're going to give him a bigger role. I'm excited to see him get a bigger role. So I think all things considered, this is like the best offseason considered that the Mavericks could have had.
And it's so funny because we could have never imagined this a few years ago, man. Like,
literally
having a GM and Donnie Nelson who hardly made any splash moves or any moves hardly in general at the midseason deadline or even the offseason at all. I think there's a lot of potential for this team, and the roster turnover just in 2 years, crazy.
Well, it's another thing as well is that they've locked these guys up, not with contract wise, and they have a young squad, that's young but also experienced. It's a really good loadout, and I'm saying this because look at our major free agent was Derrick Jones Jr. Nobody else on this team other than Markieff Morris was really a notable free agent on this team. And so we've always had, it feels like almost every single offseason we're going in and we have like five rotational players going into free agency and we have to re-sign all of them. And so going into that, not only that, but next year we only have Kyrie Irving who has a player option. And then also our next notable free agent would be Jaden Hardy or Dante Exum. Everybody else is under contract for the next year as well, which is crazy. It's crazy. And it's a young roster too. So pretty cool. Another thing too that I want to point out that I know Courtney mentioned a little bit before, but this is also one of the biggest signings that the Mavericks have ever done, if not the biggest signing with Klay Thompson. And you go back to last year's free agency where we had to beat the Lakers and Kyrie Irving as well. And so we have Kyrie Irving and Klay Thompson back-to-back years picking us over Los Angeles. Shows the direction that this organization is going in and shows the value of this organization now. It's truly exciting to be a Mavericks fan right now. There's players that want to play for us that would have never thought of us 5-10 years ago. So Nico Harrison, ladies and gentlemen, that is the Nico Harrison effect. Shout out to him. And also, Mark Cuban is still one of the best owners in the league. Not one of the best GMs, but one of the best owners in the league. And that's and that helps a lot as well. So, good offseason for the Mavericks so far. Hopefully they could still improve this team, and hopefully we can improve our Pirtle record. Let me share that real quick. If you don't know, we always do every single episode. We do Pirtle. It's the Wordle version of the NBA. We're just trying to guess a player. All right. So, do we go with one of the newer Mavs again?
Oh yeah.
Or do we go with a Derrick Jones Jr.?
Najee.
Najee?
They want to get us sometimes putting up the marquee players. That's why we keep like losing sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel we got to guess a big time player this time again.
All right. So if we want a big time player, seems like it's going to be a tall guy. Let's go with like who's a big man in the East that's young too. Oh, this might actually
Big man in the East that's young. Onyeka Okongwu.
Okongwu, Hawks.
Is he still on the Hawks? Okay. Oh, they got him as a forward? That's pretty messed up.
What? Younger
Okay, who's
than
a
22.
young? Yeah, who's a young center? Nick Richards.
The East.
Oh, he's southeast. Cool. He's southeast though.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, who's do they have like Robert Williams is older than that now.
Robert Williams is also on the Blazers now, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say because I think he got traded to the. No, I think he's still on the Blazers. You're right.
The potential was there, man.
It really was.
It was.
Makes me sad.
Whole career just got wasted. Atlantic.
Oh man, why is this tough?
A Nets. How old is Claxton?
What about like
it's
Claxton?
a Nick. It's a Nick.
You think it's a Nick? Could be a Nick. We'll see with this.
A young Nick Big though.
Okay, so it's Central Division, East Central Division, or whatever they call
Central
that.
Division East.
I'm thinking
Southeast.
Who was I thinking of?
That freaking guy with glasses on the.
That's what I was thinking. Is his name Jalen Smith?
Yes.
Is it Jalen Smith? Ooh, on the Pacers though. Damn. Who's a young player for them? That's a forward and a center.
That's not Jalen.
Who's 6'9" at 22.
Oh man. Ooh. So he just got drafted.
He's like he's legit number 20, 21, or 22. He can't be anything else. Well, he could be 19.
The only people I know that are young on that team is Nembhard and Mathurin and Jalen Smith. I don't know any of the young guys.
This has to be like
Isaiah
11,
Jackson.
11 player in the rotation.
Isaiah Jackson.
No.
Sounds.
Hey, there we go. I can't believe I got that. That should have not. 6'9" forward center but at least we got it, man. Does somebody want to look up his stats? Does he even play? I don't know how I got him.
He played in the playoffs. He played in the playoffs.
He played in the playoffs?
I
Okay.
do remember him now. He's not a bum like Messi Metu. That's a bum.
Yeah, that one was bad. That one was really bad. So, all right, we're going to go into the Dallas Stars real quick before we start talking about the only team that's in season right now. I do want to talk about the Dallas Stars and their free agency. Quick recap on what they did real quick. So, first of all, of course, they had to let go of Joe Pavelski. They didn't let go of him. He did have to retire. He retired at the end of the season. A couple people that we traded away. I know we traded away Ty Dellandrea to the Sharks. We just traded Radek Fox to the Blues. We bought out Ryan Suter. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, this might be the only – well, we lost like players like Yanni Hakanpää. We did lose Craig Smith, which is something that I wouldn't have wanted. We also lost our backup goalie, Scott Wedgwood, which is bigger than people think. And then lastly,
Duchesne, though.
We did re-sign Duchesne. But lastly, we lost Chris Tanev to the Toronto Maple Leafs. And so this one was a tough one. They had to let him go because he was looking – it seemed like he wanted to go back to Canada, and he was looking at a long-term contract when he's 34. And it's tough to give him – I believe the Maple Leafs gave him like a 7-year contract. which is insane. I can't remember if it was 7 years. I hope it's not. But that's Ryan Suter territory. We just bought out Ryan Suter because his contract was so bad and he was getting old. This is that's what Toronto's going to have to deal with in a couple years. But it hurts to lose Chris Tanev. He was huge for us in the playoffs. You could tell once he got hurt in that, like around Game 4, Game 5 for Colorado, that this team started to lose themselves defensively. And I get, like, you know, the Stars were number 1 in the West before the Chris Tanev trade and stuff like that, but you could tell there's a noticeable difference between the Dallas Stars defense with Chris Tanev and without Chris Tanev. So that's a really tough loss. Well, how did the Stars replace Chris Tanev? Well, they re-signed Nils Lundqvist, who has not been a good player for us, has almost been a traffic cone on defense. He still has potential, but it's tough to see. We even had to stop playing him in the playoffs. We decided to go with a 5-man defensive rotation instead of playing him, which is very rare. And we also decided to sign Matt Dumba, which I don't know about Matt Dumba, man. It's a weird contract. We gave him a good amount of money. He was statistically one of the worst defensive players in the league last year. And he's also the player that gave Joe Pavelski a concussion in the playoffs a couple years ago, and laughed it off. And so he has the bad blood with the Stars fans, and he's kind of tried to spin it in his opening press conference where he's like, well, you could tell, you know, they're still passionate about it, which means, you know, they're great fans and stuff. And yeah, man, we're still pissed off about the fact that you went for the head of our captain or one of our best players in the playoffs and concussed him and decided to laugh it off. Yeah, we are. And, you know, and so, I mean, it's a weird, you know, people have called him a dirty player. You know, maybe the Stars need that. Maybe the Stars need that energy, though. You know, have you ever thought about that? Maybe the Stars need that energy. This offseason has been very okay. It's been like, I guess we've worked with what we needed to work with. It's a little concerning to see that Nashville went super ultra aggressive and signed players like Marcia Sol and Steve Stamkos, knowing that they were already kind of good in our division. But other than that, I mean, getting Matt Duchene back was huge, obviously, and I know that Joe pointed that out. It's huge to get Matt Duchene back on the deal that we got him with, because the scoring's going to go away a little bit. You know, Joe Pavelski wasn't a big help in the playoffs, but losing Joe Pavelski is so huge for this offense. It flowed so well with him, Henson, Robertson. The getting him is good. And I think that not signing a bunch of players ended up being kind of good for the Stars in the end. I think it's about time to let the new guys come in and show what they're all about. We have a really, really good farm system filled with a lot of big names that I think are just, you know, kind of is about time to give a chance to. And so, I mean, you know, it's a very Dallas Cowboy offseason. You know, it's a very we like our guys offseason. But this might be the best move for the Stars, you know. And I do trust Jim Nill. If you don't know, he was the GM of the year for 2 years straight now. I do trust him to address the problems at the deadline if there are problems. I don't agree with his backup goalie signing Casey DeSmith. He hasn't been that good, but you know, I do expect the Stars to probably be a little bit worse than they were last year, and that's okay. They were a really good team last year. They were one of the best teams in the league last year, and so we'll see. It really depends how the first line plays without Pavelski. And I want to see Robertson and Hentz play. I'm assuming that Wright Johnston's going to take over what Joe Pavelski was for this team. And he's an emerging star. I think Wright Johnston can be the leader of this team very quickly, very soon. So we'll see what the Stars decide to do. I believe their offseason's basically over at this point. It's not good. It's just not good to lose Chris Tanev. I was very disappointed in that. It sucked to lose him. But, it happens. There's a lot of free agents that the Stars have to re-sign, and it seems like they're going to have to do that again next year, which sucks again. It's such a Dallas tradition. They go into free agency having like 10 free agents and only re-sign like a couple of them. But, yeah, that's going to be it for the Stars. I think I've talked my talk about the Stars. Do y'all want to add anything?
You seem very sad and kind of heartbroken right there. It seemed like you're just kind of settling in that it's not going to be a potential Stanley Cup season next year. Is that what you're saying?
I saw that too.
He seems so sad, bro. Joe Pavelski gone.
I just don't think they got better,
dipping,
man.
Bro. All these dudes dipping, bro.
I just don't think they got better. I don't like the signings that they had. I mean, at least the guy's name's kind of fun to say. I believe it's Ilya Lyubushkin. But he's a defensive man. He's supposed to replace Chris Tanev, and my goodness, we overpaid for him, and he's not. I think he's just going to be another Ryan Suter. But I mean, at least the guys that stayed are still fun to watch. I love Hintz, I love Johnston, I love Duchesne. Thank goodness Duchesne stayed. At least count the blessings, I guess.
7-year deal for a 34-year-old player is actually crazy, though. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Toronto's desperate though. They're more desperate than us. So
this is a dumb question.
You can have them.
But I'm guessing NHL is like kind of like baseball. They don't got salary cap, or they got salary cap.
They do have salary cap.
Is
They
it like
do.
as
It's not
enforced
like
as-
baseball. They have, but it's really low. Like the top players are getting paid like 10 million, 15 million at the most.
They getting Patty Mills money in the NHL.
Oh yeah, no, like I'm no, like Contavious Caldwell Pope is like doubling their money. So
It's insane. And they work.
Yeah.
It amazes me they don't get more money. And it's just basically economics because it's not as many viewers, obviously. But the way those guys play out there,
Literally,
it's just crazy that
Warriors.
they don't get paid more.
I know it's tough, man. It is.
NBA like deserves to get paid at least money for anything about, bro. Like they get paid the most.
I don't
but
know.
Think about, bro.
In my opinion,
NFL,
Some of these
NHL,
dudes
NFL,
get.
they get in car crashes every week, bro. They getting paid. less
NFL
that's
gets
true,
deserve
man.
the most.
In my opinion, I think that the NHL is the hardest sport to play out of those four sports.
Hey, I wouldn't be mad at it. I'm not mad at it.
That's my controversial, but my opinion. Hockey's probably the hardest sport to play. Other than I would say like boxing, wrestling, that type of stuff. Hockey's the second to that.
Yeah.
So,
UFC and all that.
It's so much focus in wrestling and boxing. Yeah, UFC and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll put hockey as a close second. Anyways, let's get to the Texas Rangers, man. We go from the Stars, which was, an okay offseason. I'll say that. I'm not disappointed. I'll say it's an okay offseason. Not a good offseason, not particularly bad offseason. An okay offseason. But now the Rangers, there's nothing okay about the Rangers. I don't know where to start. About this team. Let's go ahead and start off that they have lost their last, their last 5 out of 7 now? They've lost their last 17 out.
Further. Oh
Yeah, I think we can go even further. They also lost.
12. Oh, let me see.
My goodness. Okay, so they lost. That's bad. In the last 48 games, I do know that they have lost 17, or they've gone 17-31 in their last 48 games. So, are we tired of this? Can we finally say that this maybe is not our year? We've been saying week after week that this is like the Rangers aren't drowning, but they're holding their hand up, But they're doing all right. I think it's time to say that they finally drowned. And I think I don't know. I mean, where do I start? What's the problem? What's the problem with this team, Joe? Since you've watched this team more than us, probably more definitely you have. So
more than us
tell
combined.
us. Yeah, probably combined.
Well, the worst thing about them is that in the majority of their games they're losing. I mean, they're in most of them. So it's just the offense, it seems like. Because the pitching, honestly, like excluding like that Baltimore loss that happened a few games ago, and then also that Milwaukee lost a few games ago as well. they're in the majority of these games. I mean, they're in it. They're in it to like the very last inning. They just can't get anybody on base. And when they have somebody on base, they can't knock them in from scoring position. So that's the difference between last season's offense and this offense this year is that nobody's making that big hit. There's no big hit guy this time around. The bottom of the order is not nearly as efficient as they were last year. Tavares, even though he's kind of heating up recently, has not been as great of as a hitter in the 9 spot this year. We really have been losing a lot of our left field presence with Evan Cardinal, who's been gone for almost a month now, and bringing back Robbie Grossman, who they have hit against left-handed pitchers every single time they start, and he's hitting from the 2-hole, which is crazy, I don't understand that sometimes. San Diego, this was a series you were supposed to win, and such a good start. That was as good of a game as we've seen from that Rangers team all season long, 7-0. Going against an elite pitcher, really, in Dylan Cease, if you want to call him elite. I really don't think he's elite, but some people call him elite. Dylan Cease beat them 7-0. And then the next day, you're winning against San Diego after being down early, which is kind of funny because when they're down early, it's usually over this season. They usually don't come back from anything, but they start to make a little bit of a rally in the 3rd and 4th innings. And then Dane Dunning comes in, and he's not had nearly as good of a season as he's had last year. And he kind of started the downfall for this team yesterday, or 2 days ago, I should say. And that's how we lost game 2 in the series against San Diego. And then yesterday against San Diego, in the final game of this 3-game series, offense just did not show up yet again. And you were there for that game, I think, TJ. The offense did not show up.
I was there for July 4th.
Had guys on base. Again, and wasting a nice Max Scherzer start. The man is 40 years old. Does not have much time left, giving all he can out there, and you cannot give him any help. And, granted, Michael King is a really good starter for them. He's had a really good year thus far. But they couldn't even attack the middle relief. I just don't understand how this team can bounce back from this in the future. I mean, Tampa Bay, not as good of an offense this season as they have been in the past. I wanted to say if we get a sweep that I'll be bought back in, but I don't even know at this point because when they get a sweep – they lose the next few games. We saw it with the Royals and how they just got swept against Milwaukee the following series. So it might just not be our year. Again, I said it last week, this is what happens in Bruce Bochy's teams. They win the big championship, and then the following year they kind of sputter a little bit. So this is not unique for a Bruce Bochy coach team at all. I'm not hating on Bruce Bochy, but it's just what happens really in World Series hangovers sometimes.
Yeah, I mean...
That's crazy. Oh, I was just going to say real quick.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I'd say the most interesting thing about the Rangers this past week was the fan that had went over the dugout to catch the ball.
Crazy.
Most interesting part of the week.
Literally most interesting part of the week. Just mundane. I even texted Joe. I said, he posted a win on the story. I said, it's been a while. It's been a while for my Rangers tracker.
It's...
And like what Joe alluded to, bro, like I feel like last year the team was exciting because even though they were like spurring to like the end of the season, you at least knew like the team had some excitement around them. Like there was always like a big hit coming, something big could happen. But this year, I just feel like the team's just mundane. It's just really mediocre. It's really nothing. There's nothing to watch them for because you know they're not gonna get the big hit. You know they're not gonna come back. You're just kind of just putting yourself in torture. That's it.
Yeah, it's pretty much torture at this point. I mean, you're just like what Joe kind of said about like, even if we get a sweep, it's like, are we even still bought into the season? Because it's always been a 1 step forward, 2 steps back type season. We go into the Royals series and we go and sweep the Royals. And now it seems like the Rangers are trying to turn it around. They go to Milwaukee, they take a 3-1 lead in the game 1 of the series, and then get swept, I believe.
Yep.
And then they go into Baltimore and lose all 3 of those games until the last game where they dominate. And it's like, oh, okay. The offense is clicking now. 11 runs against Baltimore. Very aggressive hitting. And then you go into the next series against New York, right? Who was after Baltimore again? No, it was just San Diego, right?
Yeah.
It was just San Diego. You go into San Diego, you win 7-0, and you lose. You lose the next 2 games, you start losing that aggressiveness on offense that you had. It's incredible. It is incredible how many times that Rangers team hits the ball in the air with absolutely no power. Not even chopping it, no liners, just straight up, just a big plop in the air, just goes straight up in the air, no power, no movement at all, just dies before it even hits the outfield, basically. It is incredible how many times that Rangers team did it. What is this hitting coach teaching them? They are under on everything. They are under on everything. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating to watch that. I mean, Seager, Simeon, and Garcia, and not even them, but basically everyone else, Jonah Heim, I mean, all batting under 50, under .50 of what they're supposed to, basically, almost, for batting average. Seager should be plus 300. Simeon should be close to 300. Heim should be 260, 270. And so we're not getting that. And Garcia should be close to 250, at least 250. And so it's tough to see that. I mean, you would always think that the pitching would have been the problem, and we've already been through that. But it hasn't been. So it's just kind of funny. I mean, Wyatt Langford has been incredible, at least though. At least Wyatt Langford has been incredible. Hopefully, Josh Young and Evan Carter get back soon and can provide us with some hope on the offensive side. But if not, this is a time to sell, I guess. Courtney, has your opinion changed? Do you think the Rangers should still hold?
For sure. Sell.
Do you think they should sell?
I mean,
Joe, you said sell last year.
I said
week,
sell,
right?
but look at this division. It's still pretty bad. And the thing is, if they're gonna sell, it look really weird considering that Seattle is looking worse and worse, and Houston is looking a little bit better, even though they're only like 3 games over 500, I believe. So
yeah, I believe they're 46-42, something like that right now.
This division is average right now. It looks like the AL Central of old. And it's just funny how even if we were to sweep these next 3 games, we'd only reach 500. Sweep these next 3 series, I mean. We'd only reach 500. So, I mean...
Yeah, the Rays are a tough one, but they're very, very mediocre on the road, just like the Royals were. This is a very good opportunity to take a series.
Oh, my God. The amount of times like this year that they've had a man on base on first or second with no outs and nobody ends up scoring, dude. I'm telling you, it has happened literally every game. I have never seen this Rangers offense be like just this mediocre in a while because, from last year, it was just like if you were on base, you were going to score. There's not many empty opportunities that you're going to come up with on this offense. But now it just seems like nobody can make that big hit, like I was saying. Even Corey Seager, he can knock in a run every now and then. But he can't do it by himself. Langford can't do it by himself. Marcus Semien is kind of having a little bit of an off year offensively, but he's having such a great defensive year that he's kind of catching a little bit more slack. And he's also the captain, but he's got to step up, too, from that leadoff spot because he was having one of the best leadoff seasons in the history of the league last year. And we're just not even seeing close to that with this bat this year, so... He has to step up. Nathaniel Lowe, I think, has to step up as well. He's getting a little bit better for the past 2 weeks, but it's just hard to watch that bottom of the order, too, that just can't get anything
Oh,
going
my
at
gosh. Yeah, Tavares was batting 6th against the Padres on July 4th. Tavares should never be a number 6 hitter. No disrespect to him. He's a good hitter.
I mean,
struggling a little bit this year. But he should not be a number 6 hitter. Backup catcher
Kisner, bro. Oh my god.
What do you mean, bro? You don't like Kisner, bro? Other than his 147 batting average and his subpar defense, and other than that,
what does he do, Bruce Bochy?
What are you mad about? What are you mad about?
Good lord, Andrew Kisner, bro. It's unreal to me. Like, you couldn't find a single better backup catcher than this. And I know backup catchers are usually not the craziest bats, but come on,
Well, at least the defense should be good, and the defense has been very subpar.
Dude, he is food on the base pass. Like, they steal all day on this guy. It's so easy. He does not throw anybody out. He literally is food every single time he gets to start.
Yams, collard greens.
Mac and cheese.
Casserole.
Yams. Oh my lord, bro. They be licking their lips when that dude's behind the plate, bro. But even Davis Wenzel, man, I don't know if y'all see when that guy starts, the former Baylor Bear. We drafted him and Josh Young the same draft. They were Big 12 Players of the Year at the time. We snagged them both in 2018. Davis Wenzel works his way up. he's just been, very mediocre this year. I think he only has 6 hits all year long, and he's played at least 40 games by now. I mean, it's just hard to
Not
watch.
surprised. Not surprised. This All-Star break cannot come soon enough for the Texas Rangers. And that'll do it for this week's episode of the 214 Sports Show. We hope you guys have a lovely week. Do you guys want to shout out your social medias real quick, as always?
Yeah, sure. I am on Instagram, which I rarely get on, but I only post stuff if my team wins. So recently, it's not been that great on Instagram, but you can follow me at Joseph_Duffy99. Also the same for Twitter and X, which I post way more on, at Joseph_Duffy99. And then on TikTok, which has been all right recently, at Joe_Duffy.
You can follow me at Instagram, C Lives the Life, and then which is gonna be changed soon. And by the end of August,
Really? Rebrand.
the C Lives the Life name will be retired. There will be a new name, unfortunately.
It's gonna go on a mass unfollowing. It's a new Courtney.
I'm gonna follow it just
my-
because of that.
I'm
Just
gonna
because of
look
that.
up and I'm gonna be like, damn, bro. Courtney ain't
I'm
following me anymore.
boycotting. I'm boycotting.
No, no. I'm working with my social media manager, bro. No boycott will be needed, bro. We're gonna find the perfect name. We're gonna get this right this time. And my Twitter is gonna be C_Machani. I won't be used for Instagram. It's only gonna be Twitter exclusive, C_Machani.
All right, and then you can follow me on Instagram at tj.krillowitz. You can follow me on X at tj_Krillowitz. You can also follow the 214 Sports Show on all of those platforms at 214 Sports Show on Twitter /X, on Instagram, and also on TikTok. And if you want to follow us on YouTube and Spotify, go ahead. We would love you to. That's where we post our weekly podcast on Saturday at 11. Feel free to like, share, anything. Comment as well. Give us your opinion on the show and anything that you think you disagree with or agree with. Any interaction would be good interaction with us, and we really appreciate all the following and all the interaction as of late. We hope you guys had a wonderful 4th, and we hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend and a good week after that. Peace out.